Something strange is happening in the auto industry. In our last video, we exposed the parts extinction conspiracy, how manufacturers are quietly pulling the analog, components that keep your classic truck breathing. We told you to start securing those parts before they disappear for good. And then the comments exploded with proof. A viewer named Marcus T. reached out. His 2004 Chevy diesel left him stranded. The glow plug relay failed, and no supplier had the part. Another viewer, Kevin Sloan, confirmed the same nightmare with his 2001 Isuzu 3.0 diesel. The part number doesn't show up in any database at all. This isn't just bad luck. It feels like these older trucks are slowly being pushed out. But then something remarkable happened. The master-level mechanics in the comments stepped forward and dropped the blueprint to the most powerful countermove in the right-to-repair arsenal. When the factory stops supplying the parts, the real engineers don't give up. They go around the system entirely. Before we go any further, if you've been following along with us, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling us, where are you watching Analog Assets from? We read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing the most important survival content for analog vehicle owners on YouTube. Hit subscribe and let's get into it. Today we are exposing what we're calling the bypass rebellion. Mechanics are gutting factory control systems from their rigs, building custom wiring setups, and using aftermarket engineering to make their trucks permanently untouchable by the dealership ecosystem. Let's start with the command center of your drivetrain, the engine control module. Here's the trap the dealer sets. When the factory ECM in your early 2000s truck finally burns out, the parts desk will look you dead in the eye and tell you the unit has been discontinued. They're betting you'll throw your hands up, walk across the showroom floor, and sign a 72-month note on something with a subscription entertainment system. But as one sharp viewer pointed out in our comments, that's not the only option, not even close. The solution is a standalone engine management system. You strip out the aging 20-year-old wiring harness. You unbolt the dead factory ECM off the firewall, and you drop in a modern self-tuning aftermarket unit, something like a Holly, Terminator X, or a comparable standalone system from the performance aftermarket. When you do that, you gain something the dealer never wants you to have: full control of your truck. A standalone system doesn't send data back to the manufacturer. You own the spark timing. You own the fuel delivery. When a sensor fails, you plug your own diagnostic tool in, pull the data yourself, and source a replacement from the open aftermarket. But here's the honest reality check the dealer absolutely hopes you never hear. If you pull the factory ECM from a truck with an electronic automatic transmission, something like a GM 4L60E or a Ford 4R100, that transmission just lost its brain. It stops shifting properly and gets stuck in one gear. Mechanics call it limp mode. The truck becomes a very expensive machine that won't move. The workaround? Wire in a dedicated standalone transmission controller. Or take it a step further, swap in a heavy-duty manual gearbox with an actual clutch pedal. You completely remove the digital system. No computer, no compromise. And this rebellion doesn't stop at the engine bay. It goes straight into the cabin. We warned you last time about ignition lock cylinders being phased out in favor of wireless, push-button fobs that can be remotely deactivated. The comment section responded with a field-tested, old-school workaround. One viewer wrote that a physical brass ignition module can simply be swapped for a heavy-duty toggle switch. In theory, that's exactly right. But there's a technical trap waiting for you that most people walk right into. If you try to wire a basic toggle switch start into a 1999 or 2000 era Silverado or F-Series truck, the engine will fire up and die in about 2 seconds. Every time. Why? Because factory passive immobilizer systems, GM VATs, Ford PATs, are actively scanning for a specific resistance value from the microchip embedded in your original key. No chip signal, no fuel injectors. Full stop. How do experienced mechanics crack this? They pull off the column cover, trace the ignition circuit wires, and solder in a single precision resistor that perfectly replicates the value the security system is looking for. it stops blocking the engine. And now you've got a pair of heavy-duty, marine-grade toggle switches and a push-button. Start mounted clean on the dash. Total cost? Under $6 in parts from the hardware store. The old ignition cylinder is no longer needed. The same first principles thinking applies to your climate controls. The factory HVAC modules in these trucks are disintegrating. Plastic blend door actuator gears stripping out. Proprietary control boards going dark. One viewer nailed the logic perfectly. He pointed out that those rotary switches are basically simple electrical controls, so you can bypass the whole dead module with a universal rheostat, dial wired directly to the blower motor resistor circuit. It won't look like a factory interior, but it will push ice-cold air through your vents. It costs maybe $20 in wiring supplies, and it will never, ever require a firmware update to keep working. That's the mindset of a true owner-engineer, not a subscriber. Now, what happens when the fuel injection system is completely gone? The wiring harness is cracked and brittle. The sensors are orphaned, and a standalone aftermarket computer system is outside your budget. What then? That's when you take the extreme route. A viewer in our comments put it plainly: if the electronics have become a total liability, strip them out entirely. Bolt on a carburetor and a mechanical distributor, and if the engine design is too modern for that, pull the whole thing and drop in a pre-1986 small block V8 that was engineered before computers ever touched an engine bay. Now, any seasoned mechanic will give you the real technical picture. You can't just bolt a conventional distributor onto a late model Vortec or LS block. Those engines use individual coil-on-plug ignition. There's no distributor housing in the design. So your two paths are: 1. Install an aftermarket multi-spark ignition controller to fire the coils while the carburetor manages fuel delivery. Swap the entire power plant out for a pre-1986 small block Chevy V8. When that engine goes in, you eliminate the need for a computer entirely. A carburetor runs on fluid dynamics and engine vacuum, physics that have worked for 100 years. There is no mass airflow sensor to fail. No electronic throttle body to throw you into limp mode. No idle air control valve to gum up and strand you. And here's the part that really matters. If a carburetor gasket fails on a dirt road 50 miles from the nearest town, you can cut a replacement from a piece of cardboard with a pocket knife, torque it down and drive yourself home. Try doing that with a printed circuit board. As parts become harder to find, some owners will give up. But the mechanics in this community have proven they won't. We are not passive consumers. We are builders, fabricators, diagnosticians, and problem solvers. When the dealership refuses to sell us the part, the aftermarket designs a better one. When the factory computer dies, we install our own. When the entire electronic system becomes a liability, we strip it out and go back to mechanical. First principles that will outlast every connected vehicle on the road today. The aftermarket is the last real line of defense. Between you and a system that wants to own your vehicle for you, the tools exist, the parts exist, the knowledge exists. And as long as the grit exists, and judging by your comments, it absolutely does, your analog truck will still be turning wheels decades from now. So tell us in the comments, what's the most extreme bypass or modification you've ever executed to keep an older vehicle alive? Did you carburetor swap a modern engine? Did you wire your own ignition system from scratch? Sound off below. Your experience is the survival guide that helps every other owner in this community. If this is the kind of content that keeps the winds of thought turning in your mind, hit that like button, share this video with someone who still believes in real ownership, and subscribe to Analog Assets, because we are just getting started. Stay in the driver's seat, support the aftermarket, and we'll see you in the next one.